I get what you're saying, but I honestly think that this would lead to some really horrifying implications for all of the Fey males in Prithian if this logic holds, which I don't think that it does. Let's use Rhysand as an example here. Rhysand is Feyre's mate. They are inevitable. They are partners. They are life partners. She walked away from an abusive boyfriend to be with him, and that in itself could have been a really interesting and good and powerful love story. But the problem here is, if the males don't have a choice, then Rhysand did not walk into his relationship with Feyre having truly loving her. The whole point of seeing Rhysand and Feyre fall for each other over the course of Akamath is that we're supposed to know that even though that they're mates, there's still something else there. There's still love there. And Feyre chose to love Rhysand. So if the choice is with the woman, like truly, and we know the choice is with the woman because Elaine is framed around personal choice, but even putting that aside, if the choice is around the woman, that means that Rhysand basically framed this whole love story with Feyre, knowing that he could not get out of it. So even if like he met Feyre and he didn't vibe with her at all and he just didn't like her, he's still stuck with her. So he creates the pretense of a court of mist and fury, and Feyre falls for him that way, and they're together. But in this scenario, he doesn't like her. Therefore, the only thing that's keeping him there is animal instinct. You see how it cheapens the other stories, right? We take this a step further to Nessian. Nesta and Cassian, they're constantly at each other's throats, and they're constantly butting heads. And they have problems communicating to the point where they had their whole story and they're happily ever after. And some people are still out here shipping Nesta and Eris. And if this is the case, they locked Nesta up in the House of Wind, knowing on some level that she's Cassian's mate, but also knowing that Cassian in this scenario would not have a choice. If he didn't like Nesta, if Nesta didn't like him, there's no choice in it. She has to get with him or he goes crazy. You know how that cheapens Akasif and cheapens all the Phazan books before it? But we'll go with this logic for now. Feyre and Rhysand, they don't actually love each other, and it's just animal instinct keeping them together. And Nesta and Cassian, they are also slaves to their animal instinct. You're telling me that we don't want something different? The something different of Elaine actually choosing and Lucian and or Asriel rising above their animal instinct and respecting her before their own primal wants and needs? We don't want this? Like, if we follow this logic, Feyre and Rhysand are hollow. Nesta and Cassian are hollow. Elaine and Lucian would be hollow. Like, what we would be essentially saying is that these love stories were engineered to save the mental states of these men. And that's not a female-driven love story. That's a dystopia. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know how this logic can hold, and the entire tone of the ACOTAR series doesn't change with this in mind. Like, yes, this is something that was said in the narrative, but there has to be a way to rise above this, or else Elaine wouldn't be themed around personal choice. And ACOTAR wouldn't be about the Archeron sisters finding love and finding their place in the Fae world. It would be about them finding their place in the Fae world, whether they like it or not. And that wasn't the story that I signed up for. I don't think that's a story that anybody signed up for personally. Long story short, this has to be a defiable thing. This has to be something that Lucian, that Elaine, that Asriel, that Gwyneth and Vasa or whatever, that anyone can defy. Or else the love stories that came before it don't actually mean anything. It's just the marching of time and the inevitability of the cauldron. It has nothing to do with Feyre and Rhysand's chemistry, with Nesta and Cassian's connection. It has everything to do with they're together and it doesn't matter. And that's not what any of us signed up for.